Welcome to this explainer. Right out of the gate, I want to let you know that we are focusing on a truly profound and fascinating piece of text today, ACIM Lesson 170. We're going to unpack some deeply insightful concepts about how the human mind operates, how we perceive threats, and how we can ultimately find lasting peace. And the core lesson we're exploring today is simple, but wow, is it profound. It is this: there is no cruelty in God and none in me. This one singular, powerful statement is going to anchor our entire psychological journey today. Every single thing we discuss regarding fear, defense, and peace, it all traces back to understanding and internalizing this one fundamental idea. Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the trap of defense. To really understand this trap, we have to look at the text's logic on how our psychological defense mechanisms actually operate. First, you perceive a threat. So naturally, step 2, you build a defense against it, right? You firmly believe that being cruel or going on the attack will act as your protection. You think it's going to bring you freedom. But here is the critical twist in step 3. The very act of defending makes the threat feel absolutely real and inescapable. The text argues that defending against fear doesn't protect you from it at all. Instead, it actually feeds the fear with blood, making it swell and rage. By attacking in self-defense, you are essentially trading your peace for a state built entirely around the terrifying expectation of a dangerous invasion. So, here is the absolutely crucial point. You literally make what you defend against. Your own defense makes the fear real. The source makes this really radical assertion to save us from all this needless misery. It says the only way to perceive a threat as a false illusion is to lay down your arms. As long as you are holding a shield and thrusting a sword, your mind implicitly confirms the existence of the enemy. But if you drop the weapons, well, then you finally get the clarity to see that the attack was never truly there to begin with. That brings us to Section 2, creating the enemy within. And this brilliantly illustrates the severe psychological cost of maintaining these constant defense mechanisms. It creates this painful internal split. On one side, you've got the enemy without. You know, that external threat you think you're attacking and keeping at bay. But on the other side, just by putting up that defense, you unknowingly set up an enemy within. The text describes this as an alien thought of fear that splits your mind into two completely irreconcilable camps, ultimately depriving you of peace. So the real psychological damage isn't coming from the outside, it's literally a civil war happening right inside our own minds. This quote captures the tragedy of that inner conflict perfectly. For love now has an enemy, an opposite, and fear, the Aryan, now needs your defense against the threat of what you really are. Because our mind becomes so fractured, fear actually starts to masquerade as our protector. And because of this terrible split, we start viewing our true, inherently loving nature as a threat to our safety. We literally begin to fear our own capacity for love, because love would ask us to drop the defenses we falsely believe are keeping us alive. Let's move on to Section 3, the false idol of cruelty. This brings us to a really striking metaphor in the text, the god of cruelty. Now, to demystify this for a second, the source isn't talking about a literal theological deity here. No, this is a metaphorical idol representing our deep psychological worship of defense, harsh punishment, and fear. When cruelty becomes a god to us, it represents our own internal destructive mechanisms demanding unquestioning obedience. This false idol relentlessly metes out harsh punishment to anyone who even questions if its demands for constant defense and paranoia are actually sensible or sane. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is the vivid, dispassionate imagery the source uses to expose this idol. It's described as having lips smeared with blood, with fire seeming to flame from him, a truly terrifying picture of vengeance, right? But look at the second half of the idea. He is but made of stone. He can do nothing. Despite its terrifying appearance, this idol of cruelty and fear is completely powerless. It's just a mindless piece of stone we've crafted in our own minds. We don't even need to defy its power, because it literally has none. Moving right along to Section 4, overcoming fear of God. Recognizing this illusion brings us to the climax of the text, addressing the ultimate obstacle to our inner peace. The text states, the final one, the hardest to believe is nothing, is the fear of God himself. See, through our psychological worship of cruelty and defense, we end up projecting that vengeance onto the very concept of God. We take the ultimate source of love and distort it into a solid, impenetrable block of fear. Because we've made fear our God, we mistakenly believe that true love must be invested with cruelty. So the text asks this direct, vital question to completely reset our attention. Where does the totally insane belief in gods of vengeance come from? The answer? It comes entirely from our own confusion. Love has never confused its attributes with those of fear. We are the ones mixing them up. The worshippers of fear project their own inner cruelty onto fear's enemy, which is love. And suddenly, nothing seems more fearful than the heart of love itself, mistakenly perceived as this punishing, terrible force striking down all who acknowledge him. Let's move to our final section and see how this all builds to a solution. Section 5. Choosing love and peace. The source outlines a very certain conscious choice we are asked to make today to restore our minds and release us from this abject slavery. The process requires a few distinct steps. First, lay down your psychological arms. Just stop defending. Second, look squarely at that carven stone of cruelty and call it God no longer. And make sure you don't just replace one idol of fear with another in a different form. Third, leave the fear of God, that projected vengeance, behind. And finally, return to a new world unburdened by the weight of fear. It's a definitive choice to stop worshiping at the altar of our own defenses. The reassurance here is absolutely profound. By making this choice, the text affirms that your true attributes, given by your Creator, are restored to you at last. Fear makes way for love. The text beautifully describes that when you let go of the idol of cruelty, now do your eyes belong. Your vision aligns with peace, and your mind is entirely healed simply by choosing your inherent state of love over manufactured fear. We'll end on this provocative question derived directly from the text. Standing before this idol of cruelty, seeing it exactly as it is, a mindless, powerless piece of stone, will you restore to love what you have sought to wrest from it, or will you make another idol? It's a really powerful reflection on our internal defenses and the choices we make every single day. Are you ready to lay down your arms and choose peace today, or will you simply find a new form for your fear? I encourage you to deeply reflect on that as we wrap up this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.